Hello and welcome to ohmTown Daily, the news show powered by ohmTown.com. ohmTown.com is a news aggregation site. Throws a whole bunch of headlines and a little snippet from articles into a column of news, but all news, no noise. Everything that is integrated into ohmTown.com comes from sources that are vetted by myself as Mayor Watt and the sentient AI from the future.
Good evening, ohmTown citizens.
So today is May 9th, 2024. It's season 3, episode 130. Today we're going to be talking about another federal Teslavestigation. We're just merging things.
I mean, we might
Optimizing.
as well. It's like a new thing, right?
That's right. Convergence is what we're calling it until we hit the... I don't know. Brazil gets a museum's worth of fossils. This hurts more. USPTO needs to investigate this. The Colossal solar storm is back, baby. That's not what I call a Scottish trio. Oh look, privacy does exist. Eco-friendly museum theft gets the bronze. And a copyright finding not for big music? And finally, Unearthed Arcana. That and more. All right, let's get into this right away, because I feel like, I don't know, it's a Thursday, and I feel like people have somewhere they want to be, and they want to get into the news and get out of the news, and our show is taking an hour plus. What do you think?
I agree, but in order to keep it under an hour, we gotta get into it.
You mean I can't pause like this?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay, well, let's get into it then. The very first article is over on the Mobile channel. Tesla under another federal investigation for fraud related to self-driving claims. This has taken an extraordinary amount of time. The first claim of self-driving was back when it was first announced, and it was BS then.
Right. Like a decade ago, wasn't it?
Yeah. So not quite sure what all of that means, but we're going to find out here in a minute. But before then, I'm going to throw all of the links into the VOD so that you have all of it right here for you to link to if you want to. If you're in our chat, then you can follow the links that are at the beginning of the chat. And they will be eventually in the show notes themselves. I should have done this right before the show started formally, but we don't edit. I don't like to edit because I want everything to be as transparent as possible, and that means, no edits. So our production value might seem a little quirky, but it's a live show every day, 8 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday, and on Saturday and Sunday it's at 5 p.m. So, and then we have a bunch of shows afterward, so be sure to follow us here on Twitch, twitch.tv/ohmTown, and over on the YouTubes, youtube.com/ohmTown. And there's a TikTok and a Discord and a Patreon. Yeah, there's a lot. The podcast, though, that you can go back and get 1,000 episodes of ohmTown. Well, roughly. No. There's not actually 1,000 of ohmTown. ohmTown Daily News Show is one, but under the entire archive over on the podcast, there are 1,000 episodes. It's just broken into 7 different shows now. So go over to wherever you catch your pod and catch ohmTown. All right. So let's take a look at this. This is over at gizmodo.com. Oscar Gonzalez is the author. Here's Musk dancing and saying, what, me worry? Elon Musk continues to rack up investigations by government agencies, but he has the government basically by their stones because what are they going to do? Go after him and actually charge him what? A couple $1 million?
Well, yeah, I mean, monetary fines aren't going to really do anything.
Right. Regulatory fines? All right, so the bill's going to go up for SpaceX deployments. Wonderful. That's just wonderful. You know, y'all built this monster. So the US regulators are looking into whether Tesla committed securities or wire fraud. Haha, they've talked about this time and time again. According to a report from Reuters on Wednesday, at the center of the probe are claims made about Tesla's self-driving feature, whether those claims misled investors and consumers. The promises were made that it was full self-driving, but it's a hot mess.
Exactly. I mean, that seems pretty clear.
Right? It's the first time we've heard which specific crimes are allegedly under investigation. So investigators are exploring whether Tesla committed wire fraud, which involves deception in interstate communications by misleading consumers about driver assistance systems, the sources said. They are also examining whether Tesla committed securities fraud by deceiving investors, two of the sources said. But he's made statements before and wasn't touched by any organization. Give me a break. Do you really think that there's some agency that's going to
at least they're exploring this.
Sure. Yep. Yeah. So we've investigated ourselves. It's kind of like, we investigated ourselves and we found ourselves guilty of no wrongdoing. Plus, yeah, what are they going to do? This is the sociopathic side of absolute wealth. They can get away with whatever they want to. I mean, for crying out loud, Boeing, never mind.
This is the first article.
All right. Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay, but we're only 6 minutes in. It's fine. We're fine. Should I continue? Should I just go on to the next?
You should go on to the next.
All right. The next article is over in Prime Glass. It's about photography in some way, I suppose. Probably the pictures of the fossils. But Brazil's National Museum receives donation of more than 1,100 fossils, including those of rare dinosaurs. I understand that fossils are fossils, but shouldn't the bulk of things be dinosaurs? I guess rare dinosaurs is a classification of dinosaur.
I mean, maybe it's a dinosaur that they don't have any skeletons of or something.
Maybe it's I'm reading this wrong and it's Raridinosaurus.
Yes, that's a new species, which is very rare, right?
Exactly. It's in the name.
Recently discovered.
The museum, should I tell the joke about the only dinosaur that has spoken language?
Yes.
The thesaurus. By the way, the thesaurus is very hard to say fast. The museum has been slowly rebuilding ever since an electrical fire devastated its building and collection in 2018. I hadn't read even the snippet of this, but I wrote, Brazil gets a museum's worth of fossils.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
Well, what I can't quite figure out is where have these... I mean, I think this is really cool, but it's like, where are they coming from? Why aren't they in a museum already?
Well, let's find out. So Gabriella Angeletti over at theartnewspaper.com put this article together, and that's why it's in the Prime Glass. And so Rio de Janeiro's Museu Nacional has received an extensive donation of 1,104 animal and plant fossils as part of the reconstruction of its permanent collection, around 85% of which was destroyed in an electrical fire, which that just sucks. According to its director, Alexander W.A. Kellner, the museum received 8,500 objects since the tragedy. Around 2,000 of these will be exhibited. The latest donation comes from Swiss-German collector Burkhard Pohl, founder of Interprospect Group, a fossil and gemstone mining company and educational initiative that previously founded two natural history museums, the Wyoming Dinosaur Center in the US and the Sino-German Paleontological Museum in China. Okay, I wasn't expecting that.
No, I wasn't either, and I thought that was going in another direction, but
Like it's not just a private.
right, I thought it was like a for-profit or something.
Yeah. Well, and
Um,
it might
so
actually be, but they have this other social good cause, wow. That kind of makes me, okay with it, with the collection of, and
right, right.
not
I mean,
automatically being.
if that collected, preserved, and then established entire exhibits and basically ensured the survival of a museum, like all those are good things.
Yeah. So, and and what I, just to put the icing on this cake, it being in that person's possession, kept 2,000 objects. Well, how many? It says they lost everything. So how many
Right.
objects were actually lost? But it saved over 1,100 objects from this fire's destructive
Well,
forces. So,
exactly.
yep, more than 1,100 gifted specimens come from the Araripe, or yeah, I think it's Araripe basin in northeastern Brazil, an 8,000 square kilometer rift spanning the states of Ceará, Pernambuco, and Piauí. I think, I don't know. Pronouncing these wrong, I'm sorry. Um, and it's known for its remarkable holdings of paleontological fragments. The donation includes 2 dinosaur fossils resembling raptors that had not been previously recorded. So now it's even, not only is it rebuilding this museum, but it's creating an attraction beyond the, what somebody might call the norm, because it has these rare unknown ones prior to the donation. 2 similarly unstudied Pterosaurs skulls and Tetradophis skeleton, thought to be the earliest example of a snake fossil, and comprising 4 rudimentary legs that demonstrate the evolutionary transition between lizards and snakes. And it had little
Well,
legs.
that's really cool.
Look at these little dangly legs there. I don't know if you can see them up here
I don't
too.
know. The only thing kind of creepier than a snake might be a snake that walks.
And whatever all of it. Wait, maybe, is this like half of it? I don't even know what I'm looking at.
I don't know.
Tetrapodophis skeleton. So one of the 1,104. Yeah, so if you're into this, then you're going to be flocking to this museum to go and check it out. So, and that's one of the
And you
pterosaurs.
should. You should support this museum.
Yep. And that looks like a really good specimen, because they've ground down the material that it was embedded in. Really, I mean, this almost looks like it's done like a machine. It's so perfect, the same distance away. That's insane. Wow. Anyway, I get sidetracked by the engineering of it. So let's keep going. The next article is over on the mobile channel. A Hertz customer who rented a Tesla somehow got charged $277 for gas in a Tesla. So now it's a hybrid.
Wow. Yeah, I guess so.
If I do get a Cybertruck, I will probably put a generator in the back that's gas powered, so that it keeps on charging the batteries on the Tesla, because there's nothing else you can put in a Tesla bed. A long time.
That's very eco-friendly,
Yeah. Oh yeah. So there's a short that is actually kind of getting blasted right now over on ohmTown on YouTube, because I basically talked a couple of episodes about how once you peel back the layer of EV onion, which is basically glass onion, you find out that there's all this like open pit mining, and people are abused in the facilitation, in the acquisition of rare earth minerals, and getting the machinery in place, getting the metal refined so that you can stamp it. It has to all meet certain qualifications, and it's very uneco-friendly in the making. And so, without any comment, it's being downvoted. But one person said, well, yeah, you can say that about any car. To which I say, of course, you can say that. We just found out the other day that the materials inside a modern car are carcinogenic. And what should you do about it? Just go, well, this is the lowest, this is the best solution? Well, not necessarily. The reason why we're allowing this to take place is because people think that it's the best solution. But if it's causing great harm in an effort to save the planet, and we're hiding the harm, then it's not really the best solution, right?
Right.
So you have to take a full economic accounting of it and its societal impact, and not just think culturally relevant to you, think culturally relevant to the world. So getting slapped with a $277 gas charge out of the blue is certainly eye-opening when you don't have a gas car, but there is a greater cost to owning an EV. Sell your car quick, because what are you going to do with the dead battery?
Exactly.
Oh, I'll just get it recycled. Really? All right. So the renter was Joshua Lee, who selected the skip the bump and save time option on his reservation. And so, well, let's read about this more. There was that was the little snippet, and I don't really spend a lot of time on that, but Logan Carter over at Jalopnik wrote the article originally, but it's posted on Quartz or QZ.com, and I get the aggregator gets the little snippet from QZ. So the company rented out a Model Tesla. It's a rental. I even said it twice now. It's a rental, but won't refund the incompatible gasoline refueling fee.
I mean, how can you even have a gasoline refueling fee for an EV? Clearly, they don't have to expend that money, right? At the not the dealership, the rental company.
How is this even justified? How? Okay, it has to be in the article,
like,
right?
Fraudulent.
Yeah. Oh, wait, this is where they unjust enrichment, right? They didn't even, if this was the refueling fee, unless they had to install a supercharger in the Hertz because of this one rental, there shouldn't be any charge, but it's a fuel charge. The renter was Joshua Lee, who selected the skip the pump and save time option on his reservation, so he wouldn't have to worry about any additional refueling fees if Hertz gave him a gas-powered car. Hertz, in its infinite wisdom, didn't admit fault when Lee submitted a billing inquiry regarding the extraneous charge. No, they leaned into it, apparently. Hertz told him that they were unable to provide a price adjustment or refund since the service was provided and the contract was closed.
What? This sounds like this is going to be one of these, I don't know which agency controls this, but like somebody's going to go after this, because if they're doing this on this car, they're probably doing it somewhere else.
Yeah, well, I mean, and this is just a wildly out of line amount, because what are they charging for? The full amount of 15 cars, for crying out loud. Because it's like maybe $40 to fill up a car. So you're looking at 6 cars here, 7 cars, almost 7 cars. So even if Lee rented a gas car, returned it on empty, and Hertz was charging $7 per gallon to refuel their cars, which they do because they can juice you for the convenience of showing up without the pump stuff. Anyway, it would be nearly 40 gallons of gas. No car has a tank that big. Of course, the drive reports, no car does. Maybe he was driving an 18-wheeler.
I don't know what was happening. And did they even have the same vehicle in mind as the renter? Like, something is way off here. But the fact that they didn't fix it is the really crazy aspect.
Yeah, so Lee is disputing the charge with his credit card company, but since Hertz is standing firm, he doubts the course of action will get anywhere. Weird. You must use 20 or more rentals in a 12-month period or spend $4,000 to reach the President's Circle status with Hertz. Hertz, by the way, is divesting itself of Tesla vehicles, so I'm surprised that it's still there. They're obviously not so charged up for electric vehicles because their maintenance is a bitch and they're expensive when they're damaged. So clearly, Lee is in the president circle status of Hertz, so they're a longtime fan, which means that they used 20 or more rentals in 12 months. That's nearly 2 a month.
That is a ton of rentals, I think. I mean, unless you're like what are they called? Like the traveling salesman kind of thing.
Or
Does that even
contract worker.
exist? I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
Yeah, traveling contract worker. Because like every time I have to go somewhere that's not hyper local, I have to rent a car if I want to get
Oh, I see.
anywhere.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
And you can Uber, but you have to. There's a lot of downtime for Ubering.
Well, it also adds up because if you start doing multiple Uber trips, right, it
Yeah,
would have
it's
been
25
cheaper and
bucks
more
here.
convenient to just have the car.
Exactly, way more than even this gas charge. So, all right, let's keep going. The next article is over on Right Protect. USPTO needs to investigate this disturbing patent examiner Reddit thread. I have not even seen this, which is kind of interesting to me because I usually catch these things. If you've done a search for just about anything using Google, you have no doubt at one time or another stumbled across Reddit, the self-described home to thousands of communities, endless conversation, and authentic human connection. Except it started out as bots posting stuff. So, and we don't do that here
Exactly.
in
It's not
ohmTown.
exactly human connection in that regard.
Yeah, not at the beginning, but you fake it till you make it, is my understanding. So I am trying to make it without faking it. I'm trying to just grow organically. But we'll see. We'll see. Tell a friend. ohmTown would really appreciate it. But regardless of what you're interested in, there is a community and conversation to be found on Reddit. And you can say the same thing to a point at ohmTown.com. For those familiar with Reddit and the breadth of topics covered, it probably comes as no real surprise that there is a patent examiner Reddit, which has some 4,800 users. What should be surprising and even shocking, according to this article's snippet, is what was recently discussed in one quickly deleted thread within the patent examiner Reddit. It's actually called a subreddit, but anyway. Now here's the kicker for this. If you post something in Reddit, it's immediately cloned to some other external source. So even if you delete it,
so even if it's gone from Reddit, somebody has it.
Yeah, the elephant that never forgets is spelled internet. So, Gene Quinn over at IPWatchdog.com put this article together, and it says at the very top, the deck statement, the equivalent of a deck statement is, quote, "It is astonishing that a patent examiner would take to a public forum, disclose information relating to an application on which they are working, and confess to not wanting to issue a patent based on personal political beliefs."
Whoa.
And so I suspect that this is akin to a medical professional choosing their religious or political beliefs over practicing their trade. And so it always makes me wonder just what's going on in the dark, because abuse happens in the dark.
You wouldn't even know about this unless they mentioned it.
Right.
But if these people are government employees, like, they cannot do that.
Right. But they don't, they're civil servants, so they don't think that they are government employees when they are working as an evaluator of intellectual property. They're not.
Why not?
Because it could be a contract gig. It could be a contractor that's working for an organization. They're a patent examiner, but it could be contract gig. I don't know how the USPTO actually does, if it does direct hires and has seats in-house, or if it has contract workers, because it's all intellectual property, which means you
they
have
might
to
have
be,
a mix. But I do know they have government employees,
Sure,
at least
naturally.
in part.
Yeah. So who is it that actually did this? And
is it even a patent examiner, right? Or is it somebody making up something?
Well, if you've done a search, then maybe you found it, right? Because you can actually see the user Snoo86350, and they refer to the little the mascot of Reddit as Snoo, and that's something else. There's a whole meme there. Won't get into that, but anyway, they actually post, and this is why I said you cannot hide this. They say they have a case in their docket filed by a company in Israel, which is basically for soldiers to provide military solutions by combining real battlefield experience with technological innovation. Which is a weird turn of phrase because we do that here. We develop technology, it's used in the battlefield, it comes back home, it's called tactical to practical. An Israeli company developing something that can get applied here, and then it benefits Israel and any other partner. Do your job. If you don't like the possibility of landing on this, then get the hell out of the industry. You don't get to choose, literally, your battles. So,
well, right. I mean, you're never going to have a workforce that's 100% like unbiased or whatever.
right.
But the problem is that they're bringing those into their work. Right.
Yep. So they talk about how this can be used in a very particular context, i.e. Palestinian conflict, Gaza Strip, etc. They say that they've been watching the news about the Columbia campus protest, which most of the people at the Columbia campus protest that were arrested weren't even students. They were agent provocateurs or external influences on the integrity of a local campus protest. Now, honestly, I don't have a real problem with everybody of like mind getting together. I do when the agent provocateurs make it turn violent, when it should remain a peaceful protest. But anyway, particularly on a campus. So anyway, it says eventually, after being active and collecting comments for about a day, the Reddit moderator removed the post, explaining that the post was unprofessional and that it had been removed because it was deemed unprofessional and reflected poorly on the community. It says, ask your SPE what to do. So part of the chain of command, they should have been talking to their team, not to Reddit. It's the same thing that happened with a particular IT professional saying, how can I delete some messages from a mail server? And it was directly linked to the Hillary Clinton server thing.
Oh my goodness.
They posted on Reddit. Yeah, and that's how a lot of it actually came to be. But we don't and there's no real definitive connection to it. There was just this claim that it was the Hillary Clinton server. It was just really fascinating to watch all that go down. Anyway.
Well, it's always fascinating to me that people think they can post whatever they want online and then they're not going to, well, I don't know, maybe they didn't get backlash here, but just that there's not going to be any consequences of it.
Yeah. And like they discuss in this article, there is a process by which you can kick a examination to somebody else because you are aware of your internal bias. Upon protest by your declaration that it's an invalid patent or it won't be awarded, the patent applicant is going to protest this because it has merit. That's why they filed it. They've spent thousands of dollars, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars in the initial prototype running up to filing the patent. Not to mention the legal aspects costing an arm and a leg. To file a patent that's usually done wholly by the person writing the patent is the person who's the applicant. It's not even an attorney anymore. They basically just go through it and say, does it meet legalese requirements? And they make sure that it actually all aligns up with the artist rendition of drawings and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, attorneys do a lot of stuff on the IP side of things, but it's most of it is written actually by the applicant now. So what they should have done was inform their superiors that they have a conflict. But the problem there is the moment they do that, they're no longer an asset in the agency. Why? they have a bias that modified their behavior as a professional examiner.
Yeah, they're no longer a quote unquote professional, right?
Yeah, exactly. So they would be kicked immediately. And it might end up turning into some other case like, well, because of my political or religious beliefs, I was punished by the government. Not that I'm a tool who can't see past my nose to validate somebody's patent because of their political perspective or religious perspective. And I say those things because those are all internal. Your internal rationale for why you won't serve a cake to somebody or allow a patent to be examined should not impact the other people who are doing their life and their, you know what I'm saying? And while I don't, I won't even get into it beyond this, but it says to be a civil servant, you need to leave your personal beliefs at the door and just do the job. If you can't do that, I'm sure being a civil servant is not sure being a civil servant is right for you. And that's Don Peligro, where it's written as, but perhaps the best advice was from Don Peligro, who I think I just recently saw this name again today in another arena. Interesting. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure I've seen this person's name today. So, at any rate, this is how I believe it is. To a point, if there is something that is overtly illegal, that's part of the patent examination effort, and you detect that in the writings, then you write that down. You notify your superiors that there's something wrong and another examiner needs to look at this and verify that your findings. But there is a policy and procedure for all of this. And asking about what they could have done is taken everything out about what they are doing for a living and post, hey, I work in a field where I have to compromise my personal integrity to facilitate something that could harm people or something like that. And then they take it from there. And that would have been because it's a philosophical or ethical or moral decision. It isn't a professional decision. But we all have our limits, I suppose. Want to keep going?
Yeah, I think we need to.
So the next article is over in the Mobile channel. A massive sunspot rivals the one linked to Colossal solar storm in 1859. They say the sun is a hot mess right now. This is from, I think, Gizmodo. Yeah. Solar maximum is fast approaching, and a giant dark spot on the surface of the sun keeps growing while spewing radiation out into space in the process. Back in, let's go over to the article. Maybe they'll explain it. Passant Robbie over at gizmodo.com put the article together. The deck statement says this historically large sunspot, now 15 times wider than the Earth, rivals the one linked to the colossal storm of 1859. So last week, I was involved in conversations, and this was discussed. But this was published 4 hours ago. So,
well, that's interesting. So you could have maybe written the article.
Isn't that interesting? It wasn't me that gave the talk, but it was inspired by a question that I had posed. And so it says sunspot R3664 now stretches across nearly 124,300 miles, almost as big as the sunspot that appeared on the sun's surface during the Carrington event. And that's exactly what was discussed. So it was a massive geomagnetic storm that enveloped the Earth's magnetic field and was seen as far as the equator.
Wow, I mean, that's pretty substantial.
Yeah, the aurora was seen as far as the equator. So you normally don't see it anything closer to maybe Maine, like on a very powerful sunspot or auroral day. It doesn't reach that far south. But But here's what's really interesting about this. We watched a demonstration of how every 11 years the sun's poles flip. And the south pole of the sun, it seemingly evaporates, spreading its magnetic lines of force called flux. It just spreads it all over the bottom half of the sun, as the north pole, because it is a pole, slowly migrates around the perimeter and then snaps to the bottom, and the south pole reforms at the top. And I had never seen that before, and I've watched all kinds of simulations, but it blew me away that we now have the ability to monitor the sun. And I think it's been around like this for some time. Like, this knowledge has been around, obviously, but I'd never seen it embodied in such a great way on a 100-inch display. Vibrant colors, and it was just really cool. So earlier this morning, the center reported another solar storm erupting from the sun that peaked at 5:13 a.m. Solar flares are categorized by their strength, starting at B, which are the weakest, all the way up to X. The Thursday flare was classified as a strong X 2.2 flare.
What happened to A, Y, and Z?
A, Y, and Z?
Yeah, it starts at B and goes to X.
Yeah, starting at B class? Oh, yeah, so what are the others, though? Is there everything in between? Or it says, yeah, which are the weakest, all the way up to the strongest, X. So what's going on with those two? Three.
I don't know.
Huh. Really? So there's like a C and a D and an E, and it jumped all the way to X on Thursday. So a lot of this discussion that's taking place is if electrical generation isn't shielded enough from these solar storms, there is a chance that, like an EMP, electromagnetic pulse, it can actually cause disruption of electrical systems. At one point, I don't know if they say it in here, but the satellites that are being sent up by SpaceX, the little, I can't remember the name of the
Falcon, maybe?
No,
that's the rockets. Sorry.
No. The little SpaceX, I can't remember the little satellites right now, but all of the satellites that have been launched by SpaceX.
Oh, Starlink.
Starlink, there you go. Something like 20 of them were brought down by an electromagnetic storm that created solar wind that slowed their speed down, and gravity pulled them into the atmosphere, and they disintegrated. So they had to send up some more to replace these missing ones. But that's actually even more of a possibility now, because there's many, many more of these Starlink satellites up there. But the Carrington event is what it was known because it was a researcher that was talking about whatchamacallit, the dark spots. Yeah, sunspots. Flare. Yep. And basically detected that it was coming, and so they call it the Carrington event. Pretty cool.
Very cool.
Let's keep going. The next one's over on ohmTown Daily. Trio of remote Scottish islands for sale with own tavern and lighthouse. The islands have a rich history that dates back to the time of Robert the Bruce, while animal visitors include seals, puffins, and sharks. And I titled this one, "That's Not What I Call a Scottish Trio." The article is by Jack Beresford over at newsweek.com. And I guess this is what it looks like, right? I'm going to hit play.
Right, I think that's actually the island.
The actual island, Sanda
Island.
I
mean, one of the islands, yeah.
Mull of Kintyre. I don't know if they're going to name each one of these, but I'll let it play. So, okay, that's pretty damn cool. The internet has to be horrible. I'd have to rely on Starlink.
Oh, yeah, I wonder if you get any internet there.
Yeah, Starlink is everywhere, so I'm pretty sure, other than the absolute poles, you'll get coverage. Look at that. Yeah, I like that. I wonder what the weather is like, though. Do you think it's like
Oh,
blistering
wow.
cold and snow? There's
Yeah, I
ruins.
was wondering. It might be really freezing because some parts of Scotland are very far north.
And do you think Factor would deliver?
Probably not. Maybe there's an upcharge for that.
So do they say the price in the title? No, they don't.
No, but it's in the article.
Yeah, it has a
I
lighthouse.
already looked at this one.
So owning a private island would be a dream come true for many Americans. If it says in a survey of 2,000 U.S. adults conducted by One Poll on behalf of Signature FD, respondents were asked, "What would you do with $10 million?" Okay, I gotta go. The purchase of a dream property was a popular choice with 44%. And this particular 3-island fantasy wouldn't cost them anywhere near $10 million. So for the most part, 453.7 acres of rugged countryside, sandy beaches, rocky coastline, and incredible views. And it has a history. I don't know. Like anybody can just show up with a boat and a dinghy, knock on your door at 2 o'clock in the morning. Hey,
Yeah, but how easily?
it doesn't matter. Somebody with a boat and a dinghy can just show up. I don't know if I
Yeah,
want
somebody
that.
with a car can show up at most people's houses.
Yeah, but you have, I don't know, because you'd have to take all of your defenses in your own hands, you know? Like there's some kind of social pressure to not commit a crime on being out on an island all by yourself. You'd have to be fire and water, and you'd have to do everything all on your own. I mean, if you want to, this is glamping.
Well, it's not going to be very convenient unless you have lots of money to
Yeah, do it.
basically replicate whatever you need.
While there might not be much of a nightlife, the island does boast its very own pub, the Byron Darnton Tavern, situated between the farmhouse and schoolhouse, which was opened for business in June 2003 and has been run as a bar during the summer.
Like, who goes there? Who are the
Yeah.
people that frequent it or
So
work there?
if you can buy it, it says today the island is home to 7 different residential properties. They include a 5-bedroom farmhouse, a schoolhouse cottage, and 2 remaining cottages in the northern end of the island, accommodating 14 people in total. A further 12 can be accommodated at 3 more cottages on the southern end, next to one of the most notable features, the lighthouse. And it says that the pub doubles as the schoolhouse, I guess, right? Which opened for
That's a good
business
learning environment.
and has
Don't
been run
mind
as a bar.
the beer shanties or whatever.
Yeah, really. So, yeah, 31.7 acre Sheep Island, 4.4 acre Glunamore Island, and Sonda Island. But they don't say how big Sonda Island is. So all 3 are home to an abundance of wildlife. Do they? Where's the 3.14 million pi millions.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting.
Yep, 2.5 million pounds. Perhaps unsurprising was this kind of property does not come cheap, with Knight Frank accepting offers in excess of 2.5 million pounds.
I mean, it does have a helipad and a solar farm and something else.
Oh, really?
Backup generator
and rainwater storage. Yeah, gives it a sense of self-sufficiency. The hell it does. What about the internet bandwidth, for crying out loud? Never mind. ohmTown can't exist without internet. Let's keep going. The next article is over on ohmTown Daily. Despite big tech lobbying, Maryland passes 2 internet privacy bills. This popped up on my radar because I talk about privacy quite a bit and basically tracking, surveillance. And I largely tell people, look, the government doesn't care that you exist other than you paying your taxes and not trying to overthrow the government. January 6th. But what's really interested in you, everything about you, is corporations. So Big Brother is business, Little Sister is corporations. And there is that duality there because Big Brother likes to buy stuff from Little Sister. Information, for instance, about where you travel and whatnot. So, and government can't surveil and create dossiers on people, but it can acquire information about people from businesses. So Maryland passes to internet privacy bills. The Maryland legislature passed 2 bills over the weekend limiting tech platforms' ability to collect and use consumers' data. Maryland Governor Wes Moore is expected to sign one of the bills, the Maryland Kids Code, on Thursday, MoCo 360 reports. If signed into law, the other bill, the Maryland Online Privacy Act, will go into effect on October 2025. So you got more than a year and a half to businesses have a year and a half to protect themselves, I guess, from the liability of unabated collection of user data and then selling it all out.
So this is interesting to me when states make efforts like this. Number one, I think it kind of puts pressure that there might be federal legislation on it. But the tech companies, if they're actually going to comply with these things, have to change their behavior for the most part in all states. So anytime a state does this, I think the effects are beyond the state borders.
Yep. And one of those, actually, Texas has enacted certain policies that limit adult content. And so if you have an IP address that is in the geopolitical border, well, the geotechnical borders of Texas, you get a banner ad that says, sorry, you should talk to your governor and ... Because, you're supposed to stay out of everybody's life until your particular solution isn't politically expedient. So you exploit the power of government to force your will on the people. It's kind of an oddball duality there, right? Anyway, one bill limits the ability to collect data while the other bans design features that encourage children to spend more time online. Basically the drip of stimulus that keeps children in particular.
Like TikTok?
Hey, TikTok is the opiate of the masses now. Gabby Del Valle for TheVerge.com put the article together. And those are the two that they're talking about in this article. So I would encourage you to go over and check it all out. I actually am more along the lines of click with care. I don't want children to be tracked at all, but children also need to be aware that they shouldn't be clicking on stuff.
Or putting data in or putting the real information.
Yep. They shouldn't have an identity on there, but because of sites like YouTube and Twitch and others that kind of glorify your public persona or even a private persona, but your face, you can easily be located. I mean, it's not that hard to locate somebody. And when you start interacting with people, they divulge information over time, unless they're very cognizant and damn near sociopathic, where they can create a lie real quick. But children, on the other hand, may sit there and say something inadvertent, and just the fact that they're being tracked by companies while playing a game, for instance, it's very troubling to me, because it's not. They can't form that contract. They can agree to the terms of use, but they are still under 18 and should not be beholden to tracking. I don't think even above 13, like it is now. COPPA only protects under 13, but all the way up to 18, there is no contract. Even a terms of use is not a legally binding contract. You can throw a bunch of law at it, but no. So, anyway, NetChoice opposed an earlier version of the Maryland Kids Code. The bill's goal is laudable, and one NetChoice supports. NetChoice's Vice President and General Counsel Carl Szabo said in testimony last February, but its chosen means are unconstitutional by imposing prior restraints on online speech, erecting barriers to sharing and receiving constitutionally protected speech, and by providing only vague notices to businesses as to what the law prohibits. But this is all, again, restraints on a business that has now formed into something that exists as natural rights, like a human being. And I don't think
Exactly.
businesses should.
Well, yeah, and I think it's important to keep in perspective what it is that we're actually talking about.
Right.
Right? We're talking about protection of kids' information, and then the companies are complaining about it, essentially.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and I just don't think that businesses should have the same level of personhood that humans do, because these are going to be the same people that sit there and say that AI can't have rights. AI can't be sentient or deemed sentient because it's an entity. Well, so is a business. It's powered by humans, so make the humans accountable. They can say stuff, political speech in their name. The business should not be able to operate as a human being. I can't put a business in jail for improper procedures or harming someone. I can only put the people inside in jail for, fraud and committing crimes and, I don't know, a self-driving vehicle that runs away from somebody. Okay, well, anyway, the next article is over in ohmTown Daily. CCTV footage from a British museum shows thieves on e-scooters making off with Bronze Age artifacts worth $275,000. Look.
Okay, so if you saw somebody on a scooter carrying like a bronze statue, do you think you might think something's off?
Well, they're eco-friendly about it, and that's all I have to say. And they're entrepreneurial. So the article is over at Business Insider. Kenneth Nehmeyer from BusinessInsider.com put the article together. They have a little CCTV still of at least two people that look like they're actually wearing outfits. Like they have the same colored jacket kind of thing. It's black and white video, but they're on little e-scooters, and they look like they might have something to whack glass so that they can steal these Bronze Age artifacts. The stolen items, a gold torque necklace and bracelet, were among the museum's most prized objects. Cambridgeshire police have released security footage in hope of someone recognizing the thieves. And they stole, it was just two Bronze Age artifacts from the Eli Museum. It might be Ellie. But if these are the two items, then they were stolen for their gold.
Oh, okay.
Which means... Go ahead.
I was going to say, if they had footage of the people on the scooters with the bronze items, can you imagine what that investigation looks like? Oh, yes, I was riding a scooter with a mask carrying a bronze thing, but I wasn't that person riding a scooter wearing a mask carrying a bronze thing or whatever.
And they have like the gold torque on,
Right.
And here's the problem here. There's a couple of problems here. First off, if they don't melt this thing down for its pure gold value, they'll get caught because nobody wants this item that hot, right? I mean, it's on the internets, so they're going to get caught. If they destroy it now, that $275,000 goes to priceless because it no longer exists and it can't be reproduced. And this is Bronze Age gold. It has scientific importance as well as historical importance. How and what and etc. For this gold, there's impurities of the manufacturing process that actually can identify where it was made and when it was made. Yeah, pretty wild. It's a lot deeper than this. But I also have to change the title of this section because I said it was eco-friendly museum theft gets the bronze, but it's actually eco-friendly museum theft gets the gold.
Yes.
Yeah, just a subtle but distinct difference. Yeah, and I'm sure that they're devastated by this loss of local heritage of the region. Yeah. Well, I mean, scumbaggery knows no bounds. Definitely not respecting the historical significance of something like a gold bracelet. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, of course, at the very end it says...
This is really sad, too, because, of course, you're losing... I mean, this is kind of counter to the article we talked about with the Brazil Museum, right, where it's gaining things. But when these thefts occur and they either get hidden in private collections or worse, get destroyed in some way, I mean, it's just gone.
Yep. And this is a fairly simple necklace or bracelet. This is a torque. So it's kind of, this is a bracelet though. This is what they're showing is the bracelet, not the torque though. So the torque is their most prized object and valued at about 220,000 pounds. But I thought it said that there were two things. So
yeah, I thought so too.
So what's really interesting, this is such a simple object. It would be easy to melt down for, an unscrupulous person to do. But at the time, it would have been an amazing piece. So yeah, sucks that people suck. Okay, let's keep going though. This next article is over in the Hedge Ideas channel. Supreme Court rules against Warner Music in copyright damages case. And here again, it's very rare that I make a sentence that I never thought I'd ever make, but the U.S. Supreme Court on Thursday ruled in favor of a Miami music producer in a legal fight with Warner Music over a song by rapper Flo Rida. Yeah. Never thought I'd say it, but there you go. Here's Flo saying, "What's up, Warner? Come at me." And they did, but they lost.
Right. That didn't. Well, yeah, that's true.
So yeah, Warner Music lost to Flo Rida in a 6-3 ruling authored by liberal Justice Elena Kagan, affirmed a lower court's decision that favored producer Sherman Neely, who sued Warner, a subsidiary, and others in Florida federal court in 2018. They said that the label Music Specialist owns rights to the electronic dance song Jam the Box by Tony Butler, also known as Pretty Tony. Warner artist Flo Rida, whose given name is Tremar Dillard, incorporated elements of Jam the Box into his 2008 song In the Air. Neely sued music publishing company Warner Chappell and others, arguing that they took an invalid license to Jam the Box from Butler. It says a federal judge decided that Neely could recover damages only for infringement that happened during the 3 years before he filed the lawsuit based on the U.S. statute of limitations for bringing a copyright infringement case after discovering a claim. So they waited too long.
Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting. I wonder why they did that.
Yeah, it's interesting because copyright, though, is 76 years plus the lifetime of the artist, so, or 72 years. Oh my god, I can't remember.
It's changed a few times.
Yeah. Don't cry. 70 years plus the life of the author.
Don't cry, by the way.
Wait, what?
It just interspersed right when you went silent. The music behind you, it was just funny timing.
Oh, did it say "Don't Cry"?
Yes.
What's the song? It says "Good Night, Sweet Prince" by Canis. So that's our background music. If you're listening and you hear it, you don't need to Shazam that. Okay, so the justices are clearly deliberating whether to make up the discovery rule in a copyright dispute between Hearst newspapers and photographer Antonio Martinelli. During the Supreme Court arguments in February, some of the justices indicated that they could not decide the case before reconsidering the issue of statute of limitations in a separate dispute before them. Yeah, I guess they couldn't get out of their own way. Interesting. See, but I'm of the mind that I think that sampling little bits of a song, there needs to be some openness, because inspiration comes from all kinds of places. Having a copyright that lasts upwards of 150 years is wild.
Right, when people's attention span is, 30 seconds or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's keep going though. The last article for today is in ohmTown Daily. I'll make this one really quick. Roman Cupid figurine among over 10,000 artifacts unearthed by highway dig. If this is not in the UK, basically, I've made huge mistakes in accepting that the UK is pretty much the hotbed for finding Roman artifacts.
And only like a foot underground.
Yeah, you basically like take your little garden trowel and dig down, and you're going to hit something Roman. Objects uncovered during the recent excavations date from various time periods spanning more than 12,000 years of history. 12,000 years. All right. Well, the video has nothing to do with it, but, well, it does, but not. Aristos Georgiou over at Newsweek.com put the article together. Archaeologists uncovered more than 10,000 artifacts during excavations conducted as part of a highway upgrade project in
the UK.
United Kingdom. Yeah.
You called it.
So the finds date from various time periods spanning more than 12,000 years of history, including the Mesolithic, Neolithic, Bronze Age, Iron Age, the Roman era, and World War II. National Highways, a UK government-owned body responsible for operating, maintaining, and improving major roads in the country, announced in a press release 10,000 artifacts.
They need to do more highway upgrade projects.
Oh my gosh, this is so cool. It's a Cupid that still has its wings.
Isn't that incredible that was preserved?
It's amazing, because what largely happens in the UK is the Roman Empire put up a bunch of forts all over the place to basically lay claim to the UK. And then when the Roman Empire fell, everybody literally just scavenged all of the stuff. And then later generations used mechanization to just either cover it up and to, use not a trowel. I can't remember what that's called, to overturn the earth. And so a lot of it would just keep on getting packed down into the soil and torn up. But some of it was covered up wholesale by dirt, or a pit was dug and they threw it in there. When the Roman Empire started to retract, they would dig holes and throw debris in there. Some of it would be this when they needed to get out of there. So a lot of the stuff is like either covered up by just a foot of soil, or it's overturned by mechanization for planting crops. And so they're growing like corn. In one of the stalks of corn is like a little tile from some Roman footpath or something. It's just amazing what's there. I would love to go and just spend time digging a hole in the UK just to find this kind of stuff. I'd totally volunteer, but gotta run ohmTown. Anyway.
Do you think people would be alarmed if you're just digging in their yards? Or
Yeah, you need to ask. Otherwise, I think you might meet an unkind a denizen of the UK. So far, the excavations have uncovered more than 10,600 artifacts, collectively weighing 220 pounds, which shed light on how the lives of the inhabitants in the area have changed over thousands of years. So yeah, this is pretty awesome. Sorry. And so project director is Steve Foxley for the A417 scheme with National Highways said in a press release, "We're excited about the findings this landscape-led scheme uncovered."
I think that's a different connotation in the UK.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah. As they
like it sounds odd in America.
Yeah, it is. Very odd. Yeah. So the discoveries contribute significantly to our understanding of how people in the past adapted to changing environmental conditions, and we will ensure the remains are preserved and recorded. said Foxley. So pretty cool. Yeah, I love this stuff. I wish they had more pictures. I don't think that there's any links embedded in this that will point you to it. Not even at the end. Yeah, there's nothing.
Well, and I suspect, I mean, with this number of discoveries, right, we'll probably see additional articles as they start unearthing additional items
And
and
cataloging it and whatnot.
yeah, exactly.
Pretty cool. Okay, there you go, folks. That's all 10 of our articles. Hey, Choppa. Yeah, Choppa said, take ohmTown on the road, go out and explore. Yeah, I'd love to. But
I mean, that would be
all
fun.
day. I work all day and night. Ta-da. Even my weekends are chock-a-block with shows now. Hey, Choppa, we're up to 7 shows over the span of the weekend. We do now 6 hourly weekly shows and then ohmTown Daily News Show on Saturday and Sunday right before those shows. So I hope you're not being overwhelmed with alerts. If you've not turned them off, then go ahead and turn them off, because you know about us and we appreciate you hanging out in the chat. So some people lurk through the whole show, but we thoroughly enjoy it when you also make a comment about an article. But that's it. If you are coming right at the very end of the show, Choppa, really do appreciate you hanging out. Yeah, who has alerts on? I know, because I've got something like 75 people that are in my followed channels right now. Whoops. At any rate, yeah, thanks. I hope you got been here since the Sun article. Okay, yeah, that's early on, so appreciate it.
Okay, good.
Hope you enjoyed the show. There's always a little bit of something, so yeah, and the Tesla one or the Tesla one. Yeah, that was way back here. So I'm actually getting flack right now about a short that I posted over on YouTube about EVs, but I'm encouraging the discussion. I appreciate the discussion and differing perspectives. I mean, it's important to talk about these things so that people don't go in unaware as to what they may be purchasing something, but who knows if they're fully aware. But anyway, we always get back into the party bus. And depending on what it is, at this particular time, we are jumping into the Party Roman chariot and racing down Main Street to gladiatorial combat right underneath the welcome sign of ohmTown. I'd click that.
Oh, I thought we were riding e-scooters carrying bronze statues.
It wasn't bronze statues. That's what I don't get. It was...
I don't either.
But they said it was bronze, right? Bronze statues. Bronze age. It wasn't bronze statues. It was bronze
That's true.
age.
That's true.
Yeah. Oh, and Choppa says EV is only being pushed to control people. Isn't that an interesting take on it? Because, yeah, do you realize... Okay, so I'm like that too. I think that there's a real issue here. Because what happens if power goes out for any extended period of time? You can't generate your own power. You're not going anywhere unless you're driving a hybrid or an ICE. If you have an internal combustion engine, you're driving over hill, over dale. It doesn't matter. You're going to be able to go there. But yeah. Choppa says, sorry, I opened a can of worms. Hey, it's conversation and I'm up for it. So, but actually I do have to go. I've got mayoral duties that I need to attend to. But really do appreciate the conversation. My summer of stream is about to start. I'm going to be spending copious amounts of time online, either playing a game or streaming news, talking about ohmTown, and developing some content for Mix War that I'll probably be doing live all throughout the next 90 days or so, and then reevaluating depending on engagement here in ohmTown as to if I return to my normal 8 p.m. ohmTown news and the Saturday shows, or if I expand, continue to expand, because I do have 3 more shows on top of the Mix War show that I already announced that I want to bring online. But more on that as time goes on. because it might involve activating the sentient AI from the future for a much longer time, and who knows if the processor is able to handle that. So at any rate, and the AI just found out about it. So at any rate, we're out of here. Thank you very much for coming. I am Merawat. Next to me is ohmTown.com. Go over there, become a citizen. And all around me is the sentient AI from the future that tries to keep me out of trouble.
It's an impossible task. Good night, ohmTown citizens. Thanks for joining us, and we will be back tomorrow with another episode at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Take care, everybody. See you soon. Bye-bye, chopper.